Hey everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Alicia Elizabeth and I'm so happy you're here. If you are a new subscriber, hello. If you like what you see, go ahead and hit the subscription button at the bottom right once you're done with the video, of course. If you are a returning thickie, hello, looking pretty yummy if I do say so myself. Welcome back to Fitness Friday. We are officially at Fitness Friday week 6. Your girl is at week 6, y'all, which means you are also 6 weeks in to talking about, thinking about, and hopefully implementing things that will help you create and cultivate and maintain a healthy lifestyle. Again, if you haven't started, what better day to start than today? You are your greatest project that you will ever work on. So I don't care how this morning went. I don't care how this afternoon went. I don't care what your plans are for this evening. Just start. Make one small change. That's it. Just start. Today we are going to be talking about food, the history of food, and our emotions, okay? Quick check-in. I want to get through this really quickly. We are checking in for April 18th through April 24th. So last Saturday when I weighed in, your girl lost 2.4 pounds. So we are still on the up and up. We are still shredding. We are still toning. We are still making good food choices. And we are still within the healthy guidelines of weight loss per week. My wins for last week. I mentioned in my last video that I made some greens and they were disgusting. You remember that? Well, I'm very committed to working on things that I don't do well, and I made greens again, and baby, let me tell you, I had a nice big bowl of greens for dinner one night. It was like the only thing I was craving. Killed them. So I definitely will be making some of those more often. They are amazing. They have a ton of benefits. You should look them up. I'm going to try to implement them in more than one way. I've only eaten them as a side to a meal, but when I went to look up the benefits of collard greens, people were using them in salads. People were using them instead of bread on burgers. So I'm going to play with greens over the next couple weeks. They're super cheap. I mean, I got like a bushel for 99 cents. So it was one of those things that I didn't mind trial and error and making because I wasn't spending a lot of money. So I did that. I listened to my body. I have been doing the Jump 30 challenge if you have been following along. And randomly, my ankle started hurting. It wasn't swelling, but it was like bruising. And I was like, well, what do you know? What are we going to do with this? So I was icing it, soaking it, putting some hot and icy cold, the muscle reliever thing on it. And so a win for me is that I continued to jump, but I jumped at later times and I modified my jumping because I wanted to honor my temple. And if it's saying like, hey, we have a problem, I didn't want to ignore that. And so that's a win for me because on the flip side of that happening, I also was like, okay, I got to get through this challenge, but I want to make sure that I'm encouraging people to complete the challenge, but do so in a healthy way. So that was really kind of a struggle for me because it was like being committed, but also really practicing self-love and understanding, you know, we need all body parts to stay intact. So how about we take care of this ankle first and then stay committed to this challenge? But it didn't prevent me from working out. So I did jump every day, but I also added some cardio because I still had a goal to meet, right? Worked out daily. That's a win. One of the biggest wins this week that I do want to talk about for 30 seconds is that I was having a really emotional day or two. And I want to say I ate a meal, maybe 2 meals that I didn't track, didn't care about portioning. It was like fried shrimp. My friend made macaroni. I was like, hit me with it. And I had the opportunity after leaving my friend's house to go and pick up this ice cream that I recently came across that I love, just because in my mind, I was like, what the heck? I've already trashed dinner, right? Why not go and trash dessert? Not that I even need dessert, just like keep going down the hill. I'm so proud to say that I just was like, I'm just gonna go home. right? And this is like super simple to someone else, but I was thinking like, you know what, when I get home, I'm gonna crush some ginger ale. Like I'm just gonna drink some soda. And because I've been telling myself to reposition when I'm gonna drink this ginger ale, that felt like a cheating opportunity. Y'all, I came home, I think I drank a bottle of water. I might have had an orange just to like have something sweet to like change the palate from dinner. And I just was like, I just need to relax. Like I need to sit down and just breathe and, you know, maybe journal. And it is such a win for me because in the past, and I'm not saying that every time I have rough days, I'm going to respond the right way, but that was a mental battle that I'm so happy to acknowledge that I won, you know, just by going past the store. Okay, that's half the battle. Then getting home, and even if I did have a ginger ale, like that's not the end of the world, but I was like, whatever. So that was a win, and it's also going to tie into what we're talking about today, but I wanted to share that because I want you to acknowledge moments of victory that maybe they're not a victory to other people, but on your health journey, that is a win. I'm not telling myself no to ice cream. Like in total, I'm telling myself no to ice cream because I'm having a rough day, and it's not even that I want the ice cream, but instead I wanted to continue down this like rabbit hole because I was feeling bad. And actually catching myself like, okay, you had dinner, you know, all right, you didn't portion and you didn't track, but like, let's try to get out of this like spiraling effect and get back on track. That was such a win for me. Like I literally was like, yo, I'm proud of myself. Like had a moment like, you know what? Yes, today has been trash emotionally, but you are in this. You're really in this, Alicia. Like that's how I was talking to myself. So for next week, my goal is to implement more cardio at home. I've mentioned this young lady who does workouts on Instagram. I'm never available to do her lives because I work from home, but I try to watch the playback. I did not get to her playbacks this week, but I'm really going to try to get to her playbacks or a at-home workout on YouTube every day this week, in addition to finishing the Jump 30 challenge. My second goal is to make another new food item to add to my rotation of food choices. I really want to make, now that Chipotle just got like a fine, I really would like to make some quesadillas, but like my style. So that's something I'll probably do. And then also to finish the Jump 30 challenge. I am 7 days away from completing 30 days of jumping rope. So I want to see that through. And I've been calling it 7 days away from the arrival line instead of the finish line because I believe I want to continue jumping, and I don't want to see this is like, oh, done, throw the rope away. But instead I want to see it continue to be a part of my behavior, and maybe just not as long. Like maybe I'll jump for 10 minutes or maybe I'll jump for 15 minutes. So let's get into today's topic. One thing I'm really happy about as far as today's video is that it intersects with my other videos that I have on my channel. If you're someone who just watches my channel for the Fitness Friday, that is fine. But if you're someone who is like engaged with all the videos, this is probably one of the most like aha moments for me, or like yes, because one of the reasons I did not choose to have separate channels for different things is because I knew that my teachings or my beliefs were going to overlap, and I didn't want it to be like new information to that platform, right? I'm not going to go long about that, but all in all, on my channel we've been discussing this book, and I shared a clip from the video I posted this week. I used an example of my eating patterns or my eating behavior or my relationship with food to talk about vulnerability. And so I thought that that example was such a good one. I didn't think about it when I was saying it, but like, and the feedback that I received, I just knew that we had to like carry this out into Fitness Friday. And so I'm going to read a sample from this book, a snippet, excuse me, from the book. And then I want to share some responses that people have given me. And then I'm going to share my personal relationships with the topic we're talking about. And I'm going to pose some questions, and then we're going to get out of here. Okay. So Brene Brown, in this section, she's talking about resiliency. We're talking about how we deal with discomfort, vulnerability. And that has been a big thing in this season in my life. And I'm learning how everything, oh, you guys, I just wish I could just like chat with you forever. How everything ties together. She says, for many of us, Our first response to vulnerability and pain of these sharp points is not to lean into the discomfort and feel our way through, but rather to make it go away. We do that by numbing and taking the edge off the pain with whatever provides the quickest relief. We can numb with a ton of things. She mentions all these things, but today I want to talk about how we numb with food. Okay? So she says like sex and, you know, work, and we can do all these different things to numb our feelings and our emotions. But I want to talk about numbing with food. Okay? So I posed a question on my Instagram and on my Facebook. Basically, food makes you feel what way, food reminds you of what, and food equals what to you. Okay, so first I'm going to share my answers, then I'm going to share other people's answers, and then I just want to talk about emotional eating, and just like let's unpack some of these teachings, right? Or some of the things we were taught. So food makes me feel full. You're like probably like duh, but no. I realized that while having to look at myself from a standpoint of if I am engaging in feelings that enter my life, like for instance, the example I just gave you, I was having an emotional day, so there is a void, right? Whether it comes by way of rejection, a falling out with your boo, a disagreement with your friends, things are going bad at work, there's a void forming physically in your body. And food tends to be a nice escape to feel full, right? To kind of just feel like the emptiness you are experiencing is full of something, right? Food reminds me of get-togethers and celebrations. Food equals the main event. So I guess some of the questions that I wanted to pose to you is like, where do we learn how to avoid discomfort using food? I know for myself, when I think about when I was a child, and this made me even think about like my mother, my father, and I'm not saying that they did this, but just now as someone who's looking into vulnerability, how many times were they on hard times, whether it was financially, within a relationship, they had a bad day, and instead of actually processing through what was going on, food was a solution for the entire family. And so now we're out to eat because mom's working through something, dad's working through something, and the kids might not even be hungry, or we're bored, and so let's go get seafood because that's fun, right? Like, what teachings did we learn as children that we now take into adulthood? I also said, where do we learn our relationship with food? I talk about this a lot on my channel. I am trying to continue to remove behaviors from food. This time when I lose this weight, I truly believe it's going to stay off because I am constantly renewing my mind. I'm telling myself, bacon is not bad. Ice cream is not bad. It does not have a behavior. It does not wake up and say, I'm going to show off. Bacon has negative effects on the body depending on the consumption, right? And that's for anything. You can die from drinking too much water, but you never hear a person say water is bad. So I'm trying to assess, is this good or bad for the moment? Is the amount I'm taking in beneficial or is it harmful? That's the language I want to have around food. But if you've been taught food is a reward or food is punishment, your relationship with food can be very skewed because of this, right? Then we have, what habits did our home teach us as kids and now as adults? And so I can't speak to everything when I was a child because I don't know, I can't recall everything, but I remember times where, like, for instance, if we ask for seconds, if mom and dad are not informed on how to really create a healthy lifestyle, if I ask for seconds, am I going to be met with attitude? Am I going to be met with being scorned? Is this a shameful thing to ask for seconds? Am I going to be told I can't have more mashed potatoes, but I can have more string beans when I asked for mashed potatoes? Like, what relationship are we developing around food choices? What if I was like, hey, I'm still hungry after you've given me, you know, as a child, protein, a carb, and a vegetable? Are you introducing, hey, well, how about we eat a fruit salad, you know, to top off the meal? Or are we just like, there's no way you're still hungry? Like, okay. All right. Right. Like, what relationship were we taught as children, which then turned into adulthood? So like, I remember when I first got my own apartment, Well, maybe not when I first got it, but I remember a time when I was in my own apartment and I was going through a breakup. And I remember, like, I've said this on my channel, so you all probably already know one of my favorite comfort meals, but I had bought like some steak and I made a pack of mashed potatoes and I made broccoli. I don't know where that came from because I don't recall eating that as much as a child. But I remember having so much left over because I had not yet learned how to cook for one. And I did not know how to stop eating it. I was just like, there's so much left over. Maybe I should go get another serving. And I think now that I look back, I was trying to eat myself out of the discomfort I was feeling, which highlights that I did not have the proper skills to maneuver through emotions and vulnerabilities, and even like, how do I handle discomfort? How do I handle disappointment? How do I handle rejection? Like, there are so many things tied to how we eat that we have to address, right? So like I said, this time in losing weight and changing my mind around exercise and my body, I think a lot of it is being fueled from doing work outside of food, right? Really having to look at myself and say, like, are you hungry or are you bored? Are you eating right now because you need a sugar rush, because you're feeling sluggish and you're tired? Like, what's going on? Checking in with myself. What's going on, right? So I hope this is kind of helpful to someone. Someone can relate. Someone can say, you know what? I never thought of it that way. Let me look at it this way. Because I really want, if nothing else from my fitness channel, is for us to have a community where we encourage one another and we love our bodies as they are, that we see ourselves as worthy right now, that we develop healthy relationships around food and exercise, that we realize that it's way, shout out to Tanika. She has All Things Wellness. Check her out on Instagram. She just was talking about this detox that she did where it helped with like the internal functions of your body. Like, this is when we're starting to get to a more holistic view of like, what can this food do for me, right? If it's supposed to be fueling, what is it doing for me? And I'm not saying that we should only see food as fuel. I know there are people who are like that. I truly want to advocate for people who are foodies and enjoy food because it ties them back to culture. It's something that reminds them of family. Like, I think you should enjoy food for all of its purposes, but there still is a healthy way of doing so. And I think when we come into awareness and like knowledge of like the benefits of food and the dangers of over consuming something, then we can really balance out having a healthy lifestyle, enjoying food, understanding our body, things like that. So that's a lot in one video, but I really think because I've been doing some hard work, it's been helping in other areas. So now when I'm eating, even now, like outside of trying to shred the weight and tone the body, when I'm eating something, I'm asking myself, like, am I really hungry? So some of the other answers that you all gave me included food makes us feel good. Food reminds us of reward, or, if you're having a bad day. One of my friends said they like desserts. Food is a de-stressor. Food is a refueler. So I think like all of these different things show us like how we see food and how we either take advantage of it or we abuse it. And then we look up and we're like feeling bad about overeating or not having made good food choices. And then we go right back into the cycle of making bad food choices because we feel bad about our previous choices. And we never really address the behavior or what's kind of eating at us, if that makes sense. So I just want to read something about emotional eating. And then I'm gonna just wrap it up. Emotional eating is using food to make yourself feel better. It is to fuel emotional needs rather than your stomach, right? So that doesn't work. It is used to fuel emotional needs rather than it filling up your stomach. Causes of emotional eating include, but are not limited to, stress, shutting down emotions, so numbing them, boredom, feeling empty, childhood teaching, so whether it's reward or punishment, social influence, so you have those friends who just want to like restaurant hop all day and you want to be a part of that group, and so you do what they do, and so now you're just eating because it's an event. And some of the ways, this is just two, not all, to stop emotional eating is to journal. If you have a food tracker, one of the things I love about Weight Watchers, it showed me before I came into this understanding that I'm a snacker, which tells me I'm snacking out of boredom. If you really want to see how you, like if food is something that you use to avoid emotions or things going on in your life, track what you eat for a day. And then let's say 3 days. I think 3 is a valid number. You will see, like when I was first starting Weight Watchers years ago, I would be writing like, okay, I had oatmeal at 8 o'clock. And then it would be like 9 o'clock and I have to write down that I just ate a cookie. And in that moment, I'm like, but I'm not even hungry. It's just here. It's just here. And because I have to write everything I put in my mouth, I realize I'm not hungry. I don't want the cookie. But I want the cookie, but I don't need the cookie. Right? So tracking what you eat really gives you a good data of your behavior with food. If you're eating to avoid, if you're eating to out of boredom, if you're stress eating, if there's certain periods of the day that you eat more than others, right? So you might have a really light breakfast, light lunch, and then at night you're like ribs, macaroni and cheese, greens, ice cream, like what's going on? You kind of can assess like what is happening right now. And then I didn't get to really hit on this, but you also have the people who have a relationship with food that is kind of so messed up or just so off. I don't want to say messed up, that they don't eat enough. We'll talk about that in another video. But I don't want to just, just ground the fact that everybody's eating. There are also issues with if you're not eating enough because you see food as like, just, this is going to make me gain weight and I don't want it, right? It's a lot to talk about, not a lot of time to do so. And number 2, feel the feels. So the first thing to avoid overeating is to journal. Have a food journal. But the second thing is to learn how to maneuver in your emotions. I can't unpack this with the time we have left, but I'm just going to say this. When you are experiencing an emotion of any kind, one of the best things you can do that has helped me tremendously and that I pray will help you is that in that moment when you can call out what's happening, even if you don't know for sure if that's what's happening, do a quick Google search. How to deal with rejection, how to deal with someone ghosting me, how to deal with disappointment, how to deal with being fired, how to deal with boredom, how to deal with a breakup, how to deal with jealousy. Whatever you are experiencing, if you do a quick Google search, you will have solutions on deck. And there's something really therapeutic about reading about how you're feeling and solutions being offered. I think that is a great first step into getting out of that emotion instead of just running to go get cake or something that will fill that void. Really putting strategy to the problem is actually really encouraging. And at least I've seen that to be true. So hopefully that's something that will work for you. But let me know in the comments or in my inbox, whatever you're comfortable with. What's your relationship with food like, and how has it transferred over into your adulthood? How has it impacted your health journey? What are some of the struggles you're having with relearning your relationship with food? What are some things you're enjoying about this process? What are some things you're doing well? What are some struggles? Like, let's just talk about it. But as always, thank you for watching. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next video, a little healthier than you are today. All right, see you later. Bye.
We should be closer than friends.